Hello everyone. Welcome. Today I will take lecture on anti-malarial drugs. I am Dr. Vipul Navadia, tutor from Department of Pharmacology, Government Medical College, Surat. So, as you might have guessed from the title, this video is divided into two parts. In today is the part 1. In today's lecture we will cover relevant microbiology of malaria and then approach for prophylaxis and treatment of malaria. Then in next lecture we will cover part 2, which will include individual anti-malarial drugs and artemisinin based combination therapy, also called ACT in short. So let's begin with part 1, where we will see microbiology of malaria and approach to treatment and prophylaxis. So starting with the malarial parasite, there are 4 species of malaria: falciparum, vivax, ovale, and malaria. So, and then let's see the life cycle of malarial parasite. This is the mosquito which transmits the malarial parasites. As you all know, Anopheles mosquito transmits the malaria, and when it bites the human body, it transmits sporozoites of malaria into the human body. The sporozoites then enter into the liver, where it enters into the pre-erythrocytic schizogony. So the parasites develop and merozoites develop. Now, merozoites are released from liver into the blood, and then in blood, then they again grow in the erythrocytes, and this is called erythrocytic schizogony. In this, the first malarial parasites attack some red blood cells, and then they grow in the red blood cell, and then they cause the hemolysis of that lysis of the red blood cell, and the parasites are released. This release causes the attack of the malaria, is associated with the attack of malaria, and the parasites then again infect the new RBCs, and the cycle continues in this erythrocytic schizogony. And then during this the gametes also develop, and if another mosquito bites, then during sucking the blood, he takes in the male and female gametes, and these gametes grow in the mosquito and then develop into sporozoites, which then if this mosquito bites another human, then it will again spread the sporozoites in the next human being. So this is a cycle. And one more thing about the cycle is the hypnozoites in the liver. So apart from alongside with this typical cycle, in Plasmodium vivax, they also grow as hypnozoites, that is exoerythrocytic cycle in the liver. And this exoerythrocytic cycle provides a source for subsequent infection, the clinical malaria, that is relapse. So if later on, once the clinical cure is achieved, and later on if hypnozoites are released from the liver, they cause the relapse. And this is typically, this is seen with Plasmodium vivax. This is not common with falciparum. So this is the complete life cycle of malarial parasite in human body. Now, coming to the pharmacology part. Now these cycles are relevant because the anti-malarial drugs that are used have relevance with these particular stages of the life cycle. And we have different drugs that act at the different stages in this life cycle. For example, the tissue schizontosoids attack the pre-erythrocytic schizogony in liver. And as this is the first stage in the life cycle, if we attack this stage, then we can achieve total prophylaxis. So that prevents the development of disease and infection. And then we have blood schizontosoids. These drugs attack erythrocytic schizogony. So if the parasites have entered, grown in the liver, and entered into the red blood cells and cause the clinical attack of malaria, then our target is blood schizontosoids, erythrocytic schizogony with blood schizontosoids. And then finally we have gametocytes. These drugs attack the gametes of the parasite. So when exposed to these drugs, the human being do not transmit the disease to mosquitoes. So these are the different stages where a drug can act. Next, objectives and use of anti-malarial drugs. Now we are starting with the drugs. So what are the objectives that we want to achieve when we use anti-malarial drugs? First is prophylaxis. That is the prevention of the malaria before it occurs. For example, if a person lives in the non-endemic area and he is traveling to malaria endemic area, then he might want to get a prophylaxis so that he don't develop malaria. That is prophylaxis. The next we might use the anti-malarial drugs to achieve clinical cure. That is, if the patient has developed malaria, clinical malaria, he is having signs and symptoms, fever, chills, etc. Then to treat the malaria, we can use the anti-malarial drugs. The next is radical cure. That is removing the malarial parasites from the body. So, difference between clinical cure and radical cure is that in clinical cure, we achieve clinical relief. So signs and symptoms and all the sufferings of the patients are treated. And in radical cure, not only clinical cure, but all the parasites are also removed from the body. And then finally, to prevent human to mosquito transmission, so that the mosquitoes don't get infected, so that the transmission to more human beings can also be indirectly prevented by preventing the transmission of malarial parasites from human to mosquito. So these are the things that we might want to do with anti-malarial drugs. Next, starting with the chemoprophylaxis. So prophylaxis should be limited to short-term use and in special risk groups like non-immune travelers, infants and children, and pregnant women. Why should this be limited? Because if we overuse anti-malarial drug for prophylaxis, then there are chances of development of resistance, which is already a big problem with multiple drugs. And always there are chances of adverse effects. So this should be balanced between requirement and the use of the prophylaxis. So it should be limited for short-term use and in special risk groups only. Now there can be two types of prophylaxis regarding malaria: causal prophylaxis, and after this we will see suppressive prophylaxis. So what is causal prophylaxis? Causal prophylaxis means it prevents from the very beginning. It do not let the malaria enter in the body, or from the very beginning stage it acts, and it do not let the cause malaria. So in causal prophylaxis, our target is pre-erythrocytic phase. This one here, the right after the entry of sporozoites into the body. So in causal prophylaxis, we target pre-erythrocytic phase of malarial parasites, so that they are killed at the very entry in the body. The drugs that can be used for causal prophylaxis are primaquine, proguanil, and etovaquone plus proguanil. So primaquine is active against all the species of malaria, be it falciparum, vivax, ovale or malari. And then we have proguanil. Proguanil is active mainly against Plasmodium falciparum. However, in India, we do not use proguanil because its activity against Plasmodium vivax is very weak. And there is rapid development of resistance if the proguanil is used alone. So in India, it is not used for causal prophylaxis alone. And then we have combination of etovaquone and proguanil. This is used by Western travelers where the malaria is less endemic. When they travel to endemic area for malaria, they can use this for prophylaxis. Now again, this is also not approved in India yet. Then we have suppressive prophylaxis. And in this stage, our target is erythrocytic phase. So with suppressive prophylaxis, even if the malarial parasites have grown in the body, then it suppresses the development of clinical disease. So this is suppressive prophylaxis. And as I said, the target is erythrocytic schizogony. So in this, exoerythrocytic phase continues, and it only prevents the attack of malarial fever. It do not prevent the development of malarial parasites in body. It only prevents the malaria attack. Then the drugs that can be used for prophylaxis. It's the first one is chloroquine, and for suppressive prophylaxis, first the chloroquine is given in the loading dose of 10 milligram per kilogram 1 week before the travel, and then 5 milligram per kilogram weekly is continued for 1 month after return. Now, why we should start 1 week before and continue 1 week after the travel? See, as we see studying the general pharmacology, the effect of the drug is achieved after multiple doses, or in literal terms, if I can say, when its therapeutic concentration is achieved. So, right after only one dose, it may not achieve the therapeutic concentration. So, we want to achieve the therapeutic concentration in the body by the time the traveler enters the endemic area. So, it is started 1 week before. For chloroquine, it is started 1 week before the travel, and it is given in the loading dose, that is higher than the maintenance doses that are used subsequently. And then, as long as the traveler stays in the endemic area, he continues to take the chloroquine every week. And then after returning to its hometown or home place, he also again continues the same dose for 4 weeks, 1 month. Why? Because if he stops taking on the last day of travel, then the mosquito, if he is bitten by mosquito in late days, then after the last dose, the effect will start decreasing, but the malarial parasite can continue to grow. So because of this, the drugs are continued even after returning to home to cover the late days. Now it is no longer used in India for this purpose due to development of resistance. So chloroquine resistance is a big problem in India, so chloroquine is not used for prophylaxis. Next drugs are mefloquine and doxycycline. Mefloquine again started 1 to 2 weeks before to 4 weeks after the travel. And it is used for areas with chloroquine resistant falciparum. That means if a traveler is traveling to area where falciparum malaria parasites are resistant to chloroquine. In India, it is only allowed to use in travelers, not by residents. So if a foreigner comes to India, then he or she may use mefloquine, but residents are not recommended to use the mefloquine. Then we have doxycycline. It is started 1 day before to 4 weeks after the return. And again, it is also used where chloroquine resistance among falciparum malaria is common. And it is suitable for short-term use only. So maximum 6 weeks is allowed, and it is contraindicated in pregnant women and children less than 8 years of age. The next drug for suppressive prophylaxis is combination of proguanil plus chloroquine. It is used in moderately chloroquine resistant Plasmodium falciparum, and it is suitable for long-term use also, as compared to doxycycline, which can be only used for short term. And in India, it is not used. Next is intermittent preventive treatment in pregnancy. So in pregnancy, in high endemic area, it is recommended by WHO to take malaria prophylaxis in pregnant ladies. So drugs used for intermittent preventive treatment in pregnancy are pyrimethamine plus sulfadoxine, and it is taken as 1 dose each in 2nd and 3rd trimester. So 1 dose is taken in the 2nd trimester, and 2nd dose is taken in the 3rd trimester. And the gap between these two doses should be at least 1 month. So it should not be within 1 month period. And it is recommended for areas with high Plasmodium falciparum endemicity. The reason is the Plasmodium falciparum has very more adverse consequences in pregnancy. So it is better and recommended by WHO to give the prophylaxis in pregnant ladies. Next, finally, clinical cure. So here the patient has developed the clinical attack of malaria. He is having signs and symptoms, and now we want to treat the malaria. So again our target will be erythrocytic schizogony. So the malarial parasites residing in the blood cells can be killed, and they do not produce any symptoms. Now, before we are going into the drugs, we'll first see some general considerations about clinical cure when we are treating the malaria. So, among various drugs that we have available, some drugs are high efficacy and some drugs are low efficacy. So, among high efficacy drugs are artemisinin, chloroquine, amodiaquine, quinine, mefloquine, halofentrine, lumefantrine, and atovaquone. These drugs have very high efficacy against malaria. So they can be used singly also. If they are used alone, they can clinically cure the malaria. However, nowadays they are generally combined, and there are multiple reasons, the main one being the prevention of development of resistance. If these drugs are used alone, although they can cure the malaria, there are chances of development of resistance when a drug is used standalone. So to prevent the resistance, they are generally combined these days. Next are low efficacy drugs. These drugs are proguanil, pyrimethamine, sulfonamide, tetracyclines, and clindamycin. These drugs have low efficacy, so by default they are used only in combination. If used alone, they might not be as efficacious. Next, faster drugs are preferred, especially in falciparum malaria, where delay in result can lead to adverse consequences, sometimes leading to death also. So among various drugs, generally faster drugs are preferred over the drugs which are slower in onset of the action. Now a few points about relapses and recrudescences. What is relapse? So in relapse, exoerythrocytic phase or hypnozoites persist. As we had seen that apart from the regular cycle, erythrocytic cells, pre-erythrocytic cycle, the malaria can also stay in the liver as hypnozoites, and even after the clinical cure, they can cause clinical malaria later without reinfection. So what happens is first the patient gets bitten by a mosquito. He goes through the usual cycle, that is pre-erythrocytic phase, then the erythrocytic phase, and in erythrocytic phase the patient develops clinical malaria. So he or she is given the treatment of malaria. But if we target only erythrocytic phase, then the exoerythrocytic phase of parasite, that is hypnozoites, persist in the body. And even if the patient is cured as of now, later on the hypnozoites may get released from the liver and can cause the another attack of clinical malaria even without the patient being bitten by mosquito the later on next time. So this is what happens in relapses, and it is common with Vivax and Ovale. So in this case, in the relapse, parasites remain sensitive to the first drugs that was used to cure the first attack. So the relapses can be treated in the same way as primary attack. Now recrudescence. What is recrudescence? If blood is not totally cleared of parasites, so it is seen when the blood is not totally cleared of the parasites, and this is seen with falciparum. What happens is when we start the anti-malaria treatment, the most of the malarial parasites gets wiped out. And as the number of the parasites are low now, the clinical cure is achieved. Patient no longer suffers from the attack. He is not having sign or symptoms or any consequences or clinical features. But this is only because the parasite load is decreased, not because they are completely cleared. So they still persist in the blood, but because of the lesser number, they are not able to produce the clinical symptoms. Now, when the drug is stopped, the remaining parasites in the blood can grow again. And when they are again reach to the high number, they can again cause the clinical attack. And this is recrudescence. So the feature with recrudescence is they indicate resistance. So this is usually the case that the recrudescence is due to the resistance with the drug being used. So when the patient develops, in the recrudescence case, it is better to treat an alternative drug because the parasites are mostly already resistant to the first drug that was used, and that's why they remain in the body. So that's the main difference between relapse and recrudescence. Relapse is seen with Vivax and Ovale, and it can be treated with the same drug, and it is due to release of hypnozoites. And recrudescence is due to the parasites remaining in the blood. It is seen with the falciparum, and the alternative drug should be used in case of recrudescence. Next is treatment of uncomplicated malaria. So now we have completed the general measures that we need to know about treating the malaria. Now we will see the regimens that are used to treat the malaria for the clinical cure. Now we will be seeing, first we will see Vivax and a species other than falciparum. So this includes Vivax, Ovale and malaria. Basically there are four categories as we will be seeing. In Vivax and in these remaining parasites, we will first see the regimen with chloroquine sensitive groups, and then for chloroquine resistant cases. The Vivax case with chloroquine sensitive parasites and Vivax with chloroquine resistance. And same for the falciparum. Falciparum that are sensitive to chloroquine and falciparum that are insensitive to chloroquine. So the regimen used for Vivax, Ovale or malaria in case of chloroquine sensitivity includes chloroquine and primaquine. So chloroquine is given at the dose of 600 milligram or 10 milligram per kilogram, followed by 300 milligram or 5 milligram per kilogram, that is half of the first dose, after 8 hours, and then for 2 days the same dose, the later dose is repeated for next 2 days. So total 4 doses are given, 10 plus 5 plus 5 plus 5 milligram per kilogram, and the total dose would be 25 milligram per kilogram over 3 days. Then primaquine is 15 milligram or 0.25 milligram per kilogram daily is given for 14 days to achieve radical cure. Next is the Vivax, Ovale and malaria treatment in case of chloroquine resistance. So in case of chloroquine resistance, obviously we cannot use chloroquine. So the drug options are quinine, that is given in the dose of 600 milligram or 10 milligram per kilogram 8 hourly for 7 days, plus now quinine is combined with either doxycycline or clindamycin. The doxycycline is given at the 100 milligram daily for 7 days, or clindamycin can be given 600 milligram 12 hourly for 7 days. And quinine plus doxycycline or clindamycin is combined with, later followed by primaquine at the same dose that we seen as for chloroquine, that is 15 milligram daily for 14 days. So this is one regimen, that is quinine plus doxycycline or clindamycin plus primaquine. Next option is artemisinin based combination therapy except sulfapyrimethamine based ACTs. That is because the sulfa and pyrimethamine combination is not active against Vivax. And in this also, it should be followed by primaquine. Next, the falciparum malaria. First, we will see the chloroquine sensitive falciparum malaria. In this case, chloroquine and primaquine again. Chloroquine, as we seen earlier, that it is first it is given at the 10 milligram per kilogram loading dose, and then after 8 hours 5 milligram per kilogram, and then the same dose at 24-hour intervals. So total of 25 milligram per kilogram chloroquine is given, and this is followed by primaquine single dose as gameticidal on day 2, so that the parasites cannot be transmitted to mosquitoes. Next is chloroquine resistant falciparum malaria. So, which are the drug options that can be used in case of infection with falciparum that are resistant to chloroquine? So here the first regimen is artesunate plus mefloquine. Here the artesunate 100 milligram is used twice a day for 3 days, plus mefloquine 750 milligram on second day and 500 milligram on third day. The next option is artemether 80 milligram plus lumefantrine 480 milligram, and this combination is taken twice daily for 3 days. Now these are the dosage adjustment in case of child and according to the body weight basis. So the child with 25 to 35 kilogram takes 3/4 of the dose, and 15 to 25 kilogram takes 1 half the dose, and 5 to 15 kilogram takes 1/4 of the dose. Next is artesunate plus sulfadoxine and pyrimethamine. Here the artesunate 100 milligram is taken twice daily for 3 days. Sulfadoxine and pyrimethamine is a single dose combination, and in this the sulfadoxine's strength is 15 milligram or 25 milligram per kilogram, and pyrimethamine is 75 milligram or 1.25 milligram per kilogram, and only single dose is taken along with artesunate. Next is arterolone plus piperaquine. In arterolone 150 milligram plus piperaquine 750 milligram, and this combination is taken once daily for 3 days. Next is quinine plus doxycycline or clindamycin. Again the doxycycline and clindamycin are in option, so any one of them is used. Quinine is given at the 600 milligram 8 hourly for 7 days, and doxycycline 100 milligram daily for 7 days, or clindamycin 600 milligram 12 hourly for 7 days. So these are all the regimens for So these are all the regimens for falciparum malaria. Now what do we do in case of Now the cases of mixed Plasmodium falciparum and P. vivax infection. So they are treated as P. falciparum malaria because the falciparum is more severe. Usually the falciparum malaria is more severe disease. So in case of concomitant infection of falciparum and vivax, the treatment is targeted to falciparum. But in this case, sulfadoxine and pyrimethamine combination should not be used, as it is not active against vivax. So any combination that is any drug regimen that can be used for falciparum apart from SP combination should be used in case of combined infection of falciparum and vivax. And again, primaquine to prevent the relapse is added in this whatever regimen that is used. Next is falciparum malaria during pregnancy. So during pregnancy, if a woman develops malaria, it should be treated promptly and aggressively. If the treatment is not, if intense measures are not taken, that can be adverse consequences. And looking at the drug options, first is quinine plus clindamycin. Here the quinine is given at the 600 milligram TDS for 7 days plus clindamycin 300 milligram TDS or QID for 7 days. And this combination can be used during all the trimesters. And it is considered safer during first trimester, as we will see the next. The next drug option is artemisinin based combination therapy. And these regimens are used only during third or second trimester, and the safety of these drugs are not confirmed for first trimester. So in first trimester, quinine plus clindamycin is preferred, and in second and third trimester, we can use any of the combination. Now, Vivax malaria during pregnancy. So it is used with chloroquine as in non-pregnant woman. So in case of infection with Vivax, it is treated similar to non-pregnant person. However, the radical cure with primaquine should be postponed till after delivery, because primaquine causes G6PD hemolysis in G6PD deficient patients, and the baby is usually G6PD deficient, the fetus. Next is severe and complicated falciparum malaria. So the regimens and all the options that we saw so far were all for the uncomplicated malaria. Now we come to the complicated malaria. So what is complicated malaria? The complicated malaria is more severe form of the malaria that is associated with more serious silent symptoms and various complications of malaria. So the drug options are artesunate, artemether, artether, quinine, etc. And we will see each regimen in detail now. The first is artesunate. So artesunate, in case of complicated severe falciparum malaria, first it is given at the dose of 2.4 milligram per kilogram intravenous or intramuscular, followed by 2.4 milligram per kilogram after 12 hours, and then at 24 hours. And then once daily dose for 7 days. Now, the patient should be switched over to 3-day oral artemisinin based combination therapy in between whenever the patient can take and tolerate oral medication. So in a complicated malaria, patient is usually not in a condition to take oral drugs. So IV or parenteral drugs are started first, and whenever the condition of the patient improves, then the parenteral formulation are switched over to oral formulations. The next option is artemether. Again, the treatment is started with parenteral drugs. So here it is started with the 3.2 milligram per kilogram intramuscular injection on first day, followed by 1.6 milligram per kilogram daily for 7 days. And again switch over to 3-day oral ACT in between whenever the patient is able to take oral medication. Next is artether. It is started with 150 milligram intramuscular daily for 3 days in adults, and switch over to 3-day oral ACT in between whenever the patient is able to take the oral medication. Then lastly, quinine. It is given at the dose of 20 milligram per kilogram loading dose, diluted in 10 ml per kilogram, 5% dextrose or dextrose saline, and infused intravenous over 4 hours, followed by 10 milligram per kilogram maintenance dose, intravenous infusion over 4 hours in adults or 2 hours in children every 8 hours until the patient can swallow. So again, when the patient is able to swallow, switch over to oral quinine 10 milligram per kilogram 8 hourly to complete the 7-day course. So these are the options that can be used during complicated falciparum malaria infection. Now about the radical cure. So we have seen about the prophylaxis, in which we saw causal prophylaxis and suppressive prophylaxis. And then we started with treatment of the patient, cure that, and first we saw about clinical cure. So all the things we were seeing after prophylaxis were about clinical cure. And now radical cure. So in radical cure, we want to totally get rid of the parasites from the body. So radical cure is required with P. vivax, because the vivax parasites can grow as hypnozoids and stay inside the body even after completion of the, after treating the clinical disease. However, in case of Plasmodium falciparum, the radical cure is not required because they do not develop as hypnozoids, and rhicrodescence is more common with falciparum. So it is required with P. vivax. The options are primaquine and tafenoquine. Primaquine should not be used in G6PD deficiency patients as it can cause hemolysis, and tafenoquine is another option. Now the gameticidal drugs. So we have covered all these portions. Now we have reached this part, the gameticidal drugs. So what do? They target the gametocytes, the sexual forms of the parasite, and they cause the elimination of male and female gametes. So they reduce the transmission to mosquito. Now, one interesting thing is they do not provide any benefit to the patient that is receiving the gametocyte. So when the drug is given, it targets the gametocytes, but by that time the parasite has already caused clinical disease in the patient. So gametocytes only prevent the transmission to next mosquito and indirectly to the more persons. So it only prevents the transmission of the disease. However, it do not provide any benefit to the patient who is receiving gameticidal drug. So drug option in this case are primaquine, which is effective against all the species. Then we have artemisinin. It has weak action on the early stages, but there is no action on the mature stages. So with artemisinins, it is radical curative is required. And then proguanil. So proguanil, when the malarial parasites are exposed to proguanil, they fail to carry on life cycle normally in the mosquitoes. They might grow in human, but if the proguanil is given and the parasites are exposed to proguanil, then after entering into the next mosquito, they will fail to go through the complete cycle. And that prevents the transmission. So these were all the things that we wanted to cover in this lecture. So what we saw the life cycle of the, starting with the, as a revision, we saw that malaria has 4 species: falciparum malaria, vivax, ovale, malaria. Then we saw the life cycle of the malarial parasite, where after getting bitten by mosquito, the parasite enter into the body, and they first go to the liver and grow as pre-erythrocytic schizogony. Then merozoites enter into the blood, and in blood they again grow in red blood cells, and they cause clinical disease at this stage. And then if another mosquito bites and sucks the blood, then the parasites enter in that mosquito, and that mosquito, when bites to another person, transmits disease to the next person also. And apart from this, there can be growth as hypnozoites in as exoerythrocytic cycle, and when these parasites are released, they can cause relapse. Next, we saw that the objective of the various drugs act as the various stages of the malarial parasite. Tissue schizontocytes act on the pre-erythrocytic schizogony, blood schizontocytes act on the erythrocytic schizogony, and gametocytes act on the gametes of the malarial parasite. Then objective of using the antimalarial drug can be prophylaxis, clinical cure, radical cure, or prevention of human to mosquito transmission. So for prophylaxis should be limited for short-term use and special risk groups. And causal prophylaxis, the target is pre-erythrocytic schizogony, and This can be primaquine, proguanil, and atovaquone plus proguanil are the options for causal prophylaxis. In suppressive prophylaxis, the target is erythrocytic schizogony, and in this case, exoerythrocytic phase still continues, but the prevention of the malarial fever can be achieved. The drugs that can be used are chloroquine, mefloquine, doxycycline, and proguanil plus chloroquine. Then, for intermittent preventive treatment of pregnancy, pyrimethamine plus sulfadoxine combination is used during second and third trimester, especially in the falciparum endemic area. Then we have clinical cure, where again the target is erythrocytic schizogony, and the high efficacy drugs can be used singly, but again they are combined to prevent the resistance. Then low efficacy drugs are always combined, and then faster acting drugs are preferred over slower onset. Then relapse occurs due to the release of hypnozoids, and it is seen with Vivax and Ovali, and the relapses can be treated in the same way as primary attack. And recrudescence is due to the remaining parasites in the blood, and it is seen with Plasmodium falciparum, and it indicates resistance. So the alternative drugs should be used. Then treatment of uncomplicated malaria, where for Vivax, Ovali, and malaria, we can use chloroquine plus primaquine, and in case of chloroquine resistance, we can go for quinine plus doxycycline or clindamycin plus primaquine, or the second regimen is ACT plus primaquine. In case of chloroquine sensitive falciparum malaria, chloroquine plus primaquine can be used, and in case of resistance to chloroquine in case of falciparum malaria, we have various ACTs. The first option is artesunate plus mefloquine, second artemether plus lumefantrine, then artesunate plus sulfadoxine plus pyrimethamine, then arterolone plus piperaquine, then quinine plus doxycycline or clindamycin, and in case of mixed falciparum plus Vivax infection, it should be treated as falciparum infection. However, sulfadoxine pyrimethamine combination cannot be used as it does not work against Vivax, and primaquine is to be used for prevention of relapse. And for falciparum malaria during pregnancy, it should be treated intensely. The options are quinine plus clindamycin and ACT. For Vivax, it is used as usual, similar to non-pregnant women. However, the primaquine should be postponed. In severe complicated falciparum malaria, parenteral treatment is started with parenteral formulations and switched over to oral formulations, and the drugs used are artesunate or artemether, artether or quinine. Then radical cure is required for Vivax, not for falciparum. And drug options are primaquine and tafenoquine. And gameticidal drugs attack male and female gametes. They reduce only transmission and provide no benefit to the patient who is receiving these drugs. And the drug options are primaquine, artemisinin, and proguanil. So this completes all the topics for today's lecture. And in next session, that is part 2, we will be covering anti-malarial drugs. So although we have been mentioning most of the drugs so far, I have just enlisted all the drugs that we will be seeing in the next lecture. These drugs are chloroquine, amodiaquine, piperaquine, mefloquine, quinine, proguanil, pyrimethamine, primaquine, tafenoquine, doxycycline, clindamycin. So these are the individual drugs. And then in artemisinin derivatives, we have artesunate, artemether, artether, dihydroartemisinin, and arterolane, lumefantrine, pyronadrine, and atovaquone. So these are the drugs that we will be covering in next lecture, and this completes today's lecture. Thank you.